Hi guys, welcome. This is the Stay at Home Coaches Pod where we talk about happenings around the world of sports. And as usual, I'm not alone. I have my brother here, John Binho. We've done this for years, and now it's time for us to bring it to you from the comfort of our homes and to talk about happenings around the world of sports. John, it's been a while. We've thought of doing this, and I'm quite excited. We've found time to start this podcast. So just a quick run through. What do you expect in the end? What do you think we can achieve with talking about happenings around the world of sport, especially weekly, if possible?
Yeah, this is quite interesting. The last time we did it was a very long time ago, yeah. But we have that chemistry and we've been talking about it. Especially, you've been on my neck about it. I've been giving excuses for work and all. But finally, we get to do what we are passionate about, something we do love that we did while we were still in school. Now it's time for
Yeah.
us to bring it out to the world beyond our local community back then. And I expect this to go all over. I expect this to get to the right places so that they will understand that as football fans, you have voices too, and your voices can be heard where you want them to be heard.
Really true. Interestingly, we're both Chelsea fans, so
Yeah,
uh, once in a while we try to reduce our bias because that could always happen, right? But we'll do our very best to give you the best. So let's really talk about the Premier League. It started yesterday. We were really excited with what we saw. The goosebumps around where I was yesterday when the game started was really a good thing to see. Liverpool took on Bournemouth. Interesting game from end to end, but there were lots of things to talk about. One thing I must say is I was really impressed with Hugo Ekitike. I've always thought that he was a good player, but he really impressed me yesterday.
yeah, it was actually an interesting one, right? Because first game of the season and the game that was happening in Anfield, there was that tribute to Diogo Jota, and his brother. Very nice gesture from Liverpool. It was expected, and it was amazing, even from the fans of Bournemouth as well. And things turned out really well for Liverpool, even though they disappointed themselves at some point in that game. You can't be 2-0 up at home and then throw away that two-goal lead to Bournemouth. But because Bournemouth's defense are still trying to sort things out, Zabani has left, Housen has left, they've lost Kepa, they lost Milos Kekes, but they were able to, show us what it is that they could do. But conceding two goals after coming back from two goals down just shows that I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, Liverpool will be happy for that. I'm sure Ariola will not be, Iraola rather, would not be excited about that particular experience because your team were 2-0 down, then
True.
came back to 2-2, then lost concentration and conceded two goals again. I don't know. And for another thing, interesting thing I noticed, for Chelsea fans who were angry, why was Petrovic sold
Petrovic, right?
to Bournemouth? He should have been the first choice. Now, I'm pretty sure that the few games that I've watched him play at Bournemouth from preseason up until yesterday, it would make them to cover their faces a little bit, I'm like, okay, so maybe the Chelsea coach Maresca and the sporting directors saw something that we were not seeing. Maybe that's the reason why they are experts and we're not experts. Maybe that's the reason why they are being paid to do that job and we're not being paid to do that job. But yeah,
Very
kudos
true.
to Liverpool for bouncing back even after throwing a two-goal lead.
I must tell you, for Petrovic, I feel he would get into the team and he would improve with time. Yes, he just moved to Bournemouth. He's played a few games in preseason. I saw a few people blame him for the goals. Yeah, you can blame the goalkeeper for his feelings for not being able to handle or save some of those goals. But then I think with time, Areola will be able to really get the best out of Petrovic. So for Chelsea fans, he's left the team, so let's let him. It was profit for Chelsea in the end. 25
Yeah.
million pounds is no cheap money out there, and it went a long way in helping Chelsea get funds to take care of some other things. So that's actually a good one for him. Let's talk about Semenyo. I mean, we've always known that he is a quality player. He's always had flair. He can shoot the ball really well. And he's shown this season in, season out. In fact, lots of teams in the league will be hearing of rumors of teams like Tottenham wanting to sign him. But yesterday, he showed us just why he's a fine player. Remember, there was an incident of racism at some point where the referee had to stop the game, and then we saw the referee talk to the two coaches and the captain to try to appease him. People will feel that after that incident, the player would be disturbed and allow that incident to affect his play. But he turned up really well, scored two fantastic goals, and showed just why he's so important to Bournemouth. I mean, that was fantastic. I like the fact that he was able to stand over racism. He was able to stand his feet, put his feet down, and show that he wasn't bothered by the racist chants. And interestingly, it's good to hear that Meta and on Twitter has they're doing a few things to stop the people who sent racist chants to him yesterday after the game. It's quite sad, and it's something we do not promote. But for this player, Semenyo, I think he's growing with Bournemouth, and he's one player we need to watch out for, especially for people who play FPL. I'm sure they
Yeah.
would want to have him in their team going into the next set of games.
Yeah, it's sad that the performance was marred by the racist chants yesterday, and also at the stadium, and also online. It's really sad the things that happen these days, but I'm glad that things are being done about these things, and we hope that more punishment will be meted out to those who make racist chants at players during games. But going to his performance, you cannot take anything from his performance. Fantastic performance from Semenyo. Last season was a fine season from him by every standard, and at some point I had him in my FPL season for a long stretch. That's how I
Mhm.
think how no matter how much as a fan you want to banter players or you want to claim, I would rather have players of big teams and all. One of the signs of showing that you respect players as a fan in your FPL team is having that player in your team and trusting the player even after that player doesn't really perform for a few weeks or for a few games. So he was in my team at some point, and now he doesn't really have to share a lot of responsibilities more with the likes of Watara, right? So now he's more or less the main man now at Bournemouth. He was the main man last season, but now if there were doubts about that, those doubts have been quelled, and for him to have scored two goals in the kind of fashion that he scored yesterday shows that he can perform under pressure. And he has scored two goals now, which means whatever jitters he was having in the prior to the season starting, there's a way he has kind of like cool down those jitters. So let us see what he's going to be doing as the season continues to grow. One game in already, he has two goals. We have 37 more games to go.
Oh, truly. I'm really impressed with players who up their game from season to season, and it looks like he's upped his game this season. I'll be impressed and really keen to see what more he has to offer us as the season moves from one end to the other. Let's talk about the big man. His name is Mo Salah. I call him the king of African football. There's this conversation about um, who is the best African player to have played in the Premier League. I know a lot of people would say Didier Drogba. I'm a Chelsea fan. Yes, I would admit that. But this man, Mo Salah, continues to show me why I think, in my opinion, because my opinion is changing every time he does this, that he's one of the best, if not the best African to play in the Premier League. He scored in the last 10 opening games for Liverpool in the Premier League consecutively. That's why lots of people captained him, in the FPL yesterday before
Yeah.
the match started. He continues to show us that he's a fantastic player. Right now, he's at 187 goals, tied with Andy Cole,
Oh,
187 goals. So he has, I think, 21 more goals. We need to score 21 more goals to reach Wayne Rooney's record of 207, I think. 207 or 208. He needs to score 21 more goals. And the way he's been scoring 20 plus goals consistently, I feel he's going to get to Wayne Rooney. I mean, Alan Shearer, Harry Kane's record would mean he needs to score about 24, 25. And then Alan Shearer's record is actually a lot. He needs almost 70 plus goals. But in my opinion, I think he has knocked on that door and he's winning it right now. I think he's the best African to have played in the Premier League. What's your thoughts?
It's one of those debates that you can have multiple debates and like multiple people. You can mention names. So if it's by actual player to have played in the Premier League, the best you could call Samuel Eto'o and be correct, right? In terms of performance in the Premier League, you could call Mo Salah and you could be correct. You could call Didier Drogba and you could be correct, right? Because the thing is, some players are made for the big stages. Some players are made to perform at long stretches. So Salah is one of those guys who, across the league, he performs and he plays well, even in the big games. But then maybe in cup finals, FA Cup finals, maybe League Cup finals and the likes, he might not necessarily give you goals that you will need. So it all depends on how you want to see it. So if you were to go with Salah, you can't go wrong with Salah. You can't go wrong if you want to say Didier Drogba too, in my opinion. Some people, some people would say, yeah, Toure, right? I might be inclined to allow them to say that, right? Some could say Kanu Nwankwo. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, you could. It all depends on how you see it. But yeah, if you want to be on that level, you could say Salah, and I could say yeah, Salah, like the greatest African player to have played in the Premier League. Right. Yes, that could be good. Then it's when we want to now go back to who's the greatest of all time in the Premier League. That's when you get even more. Some people will bring in Roger Milla into that, into the bring Ahmed Pele you into that as well. You know, it all depends on how you want to see it. But that's an interesting thing. And the consistency is fascinating. 10 opening games he has scored in, right? And it was a record for him when he was at 9, and he has extended that record to 10. You can't overlook that, please. And yeah, you might blame the Bournemouth defense for not defending properly yesterday. But I think one of the qualities of great players, what separates them from good players, is the ability to see a chance, is the ability to see an opening. When everyone is looking for the perfect shot, you see an opening and you don't have to strike the ball powerfully. Because it's right foot. Some other players would want to come to their stronger foot at any point in time to make sure they strike the ball with their stronger foot. But it was his right foot, his weaker foot, and he didn't care. He just saw an opening. I'm like, if I strike the ball at this point, yeah, these defenders are not concentrating right now. They are still waiting for me to balance. So make I knock this ball. Let me strike this ball. Even the goalkeeper was not ready for it, and he scored.
Yeah. So Mo Salah, I mean, the argument will continue, the debate will continue. And I mean, if you're watching, please do well to type or comment on who you feel is the best African to have played in the Premier League. The battle will continue, and I'm sure Mo Salah will continue to transcend beyond just scoring goals and his impact on the field. I mean, if you look at the game yesterday, after the game, he stayed back and was one of the last Liverpool players to basically bid farewell to Diego Jota. The Liverpool fans were chanting, they have a Jota song, chanting and talking about Jota, sort of eulogizing him. And Mo Salah was there crying. It felt quite emotional, to see the human part of these players. In the end, they are humans, right?
Yeah.
And, you'd if you look at the game, you see that they actually missed a Jota character. I'm sure that's why they would want to sign more players. Even the coach mentioned they actually need to sign more. Their players have not really gotten to full fitness. I mean, the highest, the most expensive transfer in the Premier League, Florian Wirtz really struggled. And interestingly, the moment he was substituted, Federico Chiesa, who has not scored in the Premier League, came on and scored that all-important goal 2 minutes before the 90th minute of the game. And then Mo Salah took it to the next level. So they have players who have not really blended in. But one that has really surprised a lot of persons is this man, Eketike. Some people say he's from Ekiti State. I'm not sure he is, but he's shown that he's a quality player that we shouldn't underrate. Lots of people were feeling that if Isaac was to join Liverpool, then Ekitike would likely be pushed to the sideline. But with the way he started scoring and providing an assist for Cody Gakpo, he's here to stay. What's your thoughts on how he seemed to have adapted to this Liverpool side and how, I mean, he scored in back-to-back games. He scored in the Community Shield and now he scored in the Premier League.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah, so I
for
think
Ekitike, when you look at him, right, and you watch him play in Germany, when he was in Germany, he didn't score many goals, right? But I think it's the way he plays. You know, when you see certain potentials in a player, the way he plays, the way he strikes the ball, the way he carries the ball, his pace with the ball. You know, some players you be imagining, is it that this guy runs better when he's holding the ball than he does when he's not holding the ball, right? So his pace on with the ball, the way he manipulates the ball for someone who is that with that kind of frame, who is tall, I know it shows you that okay, there's something there. And when you see a club like Liverpool going for that kind of player, it was initially Chelsea, and Chelsea stepped back because the asking price was too high. But Liverpool felt for them it wasn't too high by their standard, so let's go for this guy. Now you can see the reason why they went for him, right? He scored in the Community Shield against Crystal Palace, and then yesterday he scored and he provided an assist for Cody Gakpo. So it has shown you that they know what they were doing. And for him, he's come into the Premier League. I'm sure he has read through all the tweets and posts and articles and videos and, all the takes on him. And I'm sure he has gone to speak to himself to say, look at what these guys are saying. These guys are waiting for me to fail. I need to prove these guys wrong. And yeah, it's a good thing for him. It's a good thing for Liverpool fans. When you see players who hit the ground running, when you're expecting them to take a while to get used to it, then you're happy because it's a mental thing. Florian Wirtz hasn't hit the ground running yet. Yes, he had an assist in the Community Shield, but he hasn't really performed well, which they will be hoping is not the price tag weighing down on him, right? But for Ekitike now, he's been able to shave those first few games, fears and the likes off. So now he knows that he doesn't have to prove too much anymore. He can take his time now. Calm down. He has scored in his first two official games for Liverpool. So he can now settle down, remove the pressure off his brain, and then try to see what he can do in the coming games. He should be one of those who will perform well.
yes, he should be. So we'll just see what happens as the season moves on. Isaac might likely join Liverpool. That's his preferred option. He's currently not training with Newcastle. He's not going to be playing this weekend also. So he most likely join Liverpool. I mean, that makes the Liverpool attacking line very, very fantastic. I mean, you have
Yeah.
Isaac, you have Ekitike, you have Cody Gakpo, you have Salah, and then you have this youngster, Ngumoha, Rio Ngumoha, who left Chelsea.
Yes, left.
He left Chelsea because for some reason he felt he would shine somewhere else. I mean, in preseason he was fantastic. I mean, we saw a lot of things from him. And he's one star that lots of us should look out for. So Liverpool would look really good. I'm sure they'll look really good. But I think where they have a problem is their defense. I know
Yeah.
they want to sign Maguire. They signed a player yesterday.
Yeah.
The name eludes me right now.
Yeah,
And
Leon something.
yes, yes, they signed him yesterday, and it looks like they're preparing to add maybe Maguire if possible because he has Premier League experience, and that will go a long way in helping them next season. If you look at the second goal Semenyo scored, you could see that Konate was in his sixes. He really didn't know where he was. Their defense wasn't as good as it used to. So I'm sure that Ancelot would want to take care of defense because that's where they seem to have a lot of problems. So that's one of the major things I think he'll be looking out for. So we've run through that fantastic game today, and I mean, I'm excited about the Premier League and what is in store for us. We have a few games going down today and over the weekend. Just to run through games between Aston Villa and Newcastle. Sunderland will be hosting West Ham. Brighton takes on Fulham. Wolverhampton Wanderers will host Man City. And then Liverpool, yeah, we talked about Liverpool won the game yesterday. Then Tottenham will play Burnley. Then tomorrow, the key game for me is the game between Chelsea and Crystal Palace. So just to run
Are you
through
sure
of
about that? There's the
are you sure
Manchester
about that?
United Arsenal game.
Oh, that's true. That's the key game. My
That's
bias for Chelsea is coming
yeah.
in. So, apologies, Manchester United fan. Yes, the biggest game is actually the Manchester United Arsenal game. So let's just do a run through on maybe three of these games. One, we can talk about the Man City game. Man City takes on Wolverhampton Wanderers later today. Rodri is injured, so he won't be playing in this game. But one player that has turned up really well for Man City is Tijani Rangers. He's one player who has the Rodri finesse. He has the Rodri control. He's not yet Rodri, but I feel he's a gem that would really turn up for Man City this season. Rodri will be back, I think, mid-September, so Liverpool, Man City will need to play without Rodri. But what's your thoughts on this game that goes down today? Man City taking on Wolverhampton Wanderers, who have lost some of their key players. One of them is Ait Nouri. Yeah, Ran Ait Nouri, who would most likely be starting for Man City today. Do you think it's a straight win for Man City, though they'll be playing at the Molineux?
Yeah, without Cunha, without
Yeah,
I,
without Cunha, without
I don't see what
I don't see what.
unless they want to create a shocker. You mentioned Tijani Reinders, who I've watched a lot of. While he was at AC Milan, fantastic player, box to box, can also sit when it's necessary to sit, pops in with the odd goal here and there once in a while. And now in the attack, we're talking Haaland, yes, but Omar Mamouche, dangerous guy. He stepped in last season when Haaland, was out injured, and even when he got back, he was still able to step in for City, even though the season didn't end well in good fashion for him when he missed the penalty in the FA Cup final against Crystal Palace. But Manchester City, they've had time after the Club World Cup to gel, to get to know each other more, to, see what the other players can do. They've gotten rid of some of the players they got in January and the previous summer who have not really performed. The ones that they've not gotten rid of, they are trying to get rid of. But the ones who are performing, they're using them. City should win, should be a straight win for City. There shouldn't be much of an issue for them. If they make an issue of this against Wolves, then it means that they're going to have a really long season ahead of them.
Exactly. So we expect Pep Guardiola's side to really take this one. In fact, Pep Guardiola, well, not necessarily Pep Guardiola, Man City as a whole, in the last 14 opening games, they've won 13 of them. Besides the time they lost last, that will be in 2021-2022 season. So it's expected that Man City would win that very crunch game that will be going down later today. Then let's talk about the Chelsea game. Let's talk about Chelsea taking on Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are brimming with confidence after winning the Community Shield. I mean, they really turned up on that day and played really well at Wembley. It looks like they have a thing for playing well at Wembley. And remember, Wembley is in London, and
Yeah.
Crystal Palace is the London team. They're playing Chelsea in London, so it would be a very interesting one, a London derby. But I think it's one to really help us see how well prepared Chelsea is. We know during the games Chelsea played, the preseason games, Club World Cup preseason games, we've seen a new style, we've seen new players, and they've gelled really well. But how ready are they to take on this Crystal Palace side that looks really good? I mean, this player in the middle, Sa, seems to be a star that lots of people are not looking out for. I think he's going to be the next big thing for Crystal Palace. Yes, we know Ebere is their main player. Where there are rumors that he will likely move to Tottenham Hotspur. But for me, Sa is a player that is likely the next big thing, likely after Ebere leaves. So what's your take on this game? For me, I'm excited to see Esteban play. I want to see Esteban, Cole Palmer on both sides. I want to see João Pedro start, and then the usual midfield dynamo of Caicedo, the midfield powerhouse, and Enzo Fernandez. So up front, I think Chelsea is good for the money, but my concern will be, the injury to a very influential. I keep saying I'm supposed to be fair, right? So the very
It's
influential
our podcast, so it's nice to say, it's fine.
to the very influential Levi Colwell, who is injured, and Enzo Maresca during the press briefing was really concerned about having to sign another left-footed player. Well, not necessarily left-footed player, but a central midfield defender who can control the game. Currently, he said he has only two, Tosin and Levi Colwell. But they're still is not necessarily ball playing. So he wants a ball playing defender. That seems to be the only crack with Chelsea right now. But what's your take on this game that I feel would be an interesting one? Remember, Oliver Glasner is one manager who continues to show that he's the top manager. Won the Europa League with Frankfurt. Now in the Premier League within, let's say, the last 6 months, he's won two very important trophies for Crystal Palace, who have not won anything in a long time. So what's your
Hmm.
thoughts on this game that will go down tomorrow?
Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting game, and also very Chelsea have to be very careful. Crystal Palace are giant slayers. They've slayed the last two giants they've played against: Manchester City in the FA Cup final and Liverpool in the Community Shield final. They have a style that is very interesting. So they adapt their style to the team they are playing in. And when they played against Liverpool, they found that Liverpool had a defensive problem, and he instructed Wharton to start playing, forward passes to break through the midfield because Liverpool didn't have a sitting DM, so that he could get, confuse the defense. And we could see that in the second goal that Ismail Assar scored. And now they'll be playing against Chelsea, who are particularly good in midfield, but have an issue with their defense with Liverpool will being out. And we want to see the players that Maresca is going to trust in the defense. So that will tell us, what he intends to do going into the full season. So Chelsea will need to get things right, which means Chelsea has shown over time they create chances, a lot of chances. Now they will need to take their chances against Palace and hope that Palace don't create too many chances, and should Palace create too many chances, Palace do not take their chances. But this looks like a close game. It's actually really close, even though I'm tilting towards Chelsea here because of the form Chelsea has shown us over time. Chelsea, look at the manner in which they defeated PSG. Look at the manner in which they've played against Leverkusen and AC Milan, right, in the last two games in preseason. So let's see what they will do against Crystal Palace. Where are they going to take their foot off the pedal and get too cocky, and be like, we are world champions and all? Or are they going to be very, wary and look at and say, oh, we're playing against Palace, who are Community Shield champions. Let's be very careful. So let's see how that goes. It's going to be a battle of the manager, two tacticians, Maresca.
Very true. It would be a very interesting one. Chelsea hasn't lost an opening game in a while. I think the last time Chelsea lost an opening game Chelsea lost last season, really. Chelsea lost last season to Man City. The
Yes.
opening game, we lost to Man City 2 goals to 0. But Chelsea have not lost to Crystal Palace actually in a while. In fact, that's the longest run for the current teams in the Premier League. Chelsea last lost against Crystal Palace about 16 seasons ago. So it's a while that Chelsea lost to Crystal Palace. So Chelsea has a good record against Crystal Palace, and they would want to continue that record, especially at Stamford Bridge, where Chelsea is gradually developing this resilience, this very good quality of not losing at home, which is something Chelsea fans would want. So it should be a crunch game. I expect to see the new Chelsea players have a bite at one point in the game, and I feel it's going to be a win for Chelsea. It most likely will be narrow. I feel it to be quite narrow, but it should be a win for Chelsea to start off or to continue from where they've stopped so far from the friendly games and then the Club World Cup. So that game is one would want to watch out for. But then the biggest is a game between Manchester United and Arsenal, at Old Trafford. It's a game of two teams that used to be in the top four. One has moved up to be a top two team, and the other has now retrogressed back, and they're now a bottom half team. I was discussing with a colleague within the week, and he was shocked that Manchester United would have to play in the playoffs. So in the FA
Second
Cup,
round of
Carling Cup, they need to
Carabao.
play second round games, right? And that's something you would have heard of a while ago. But Manchester United will have to play second round games, because of where they finished last season. So Ruben Amorim taking on Mikel Arteta. Amorim seems to gradually have the players he wants. Right now, because of their financial position, they can't sign a central midfielder, which is the need right now. Already up front, Cunha and Buemo, Sescu, they seem to have a formidable front three. Behind them, they have a powerhouse in Bruno Fernandes, if you may, who has continued to turn up consistently for Manchester United, but he can't do it all alone, and he has other players who will help. But right now in midfield, they seem to need an additional central midfielder, and that's why we're hearing of them wanting to sign Brighton's Baleba. They've been talked about Baleba, but he's expensive, and Manchester United don't seem to have that might because of PSR rules to sign Baleba right now. So that's where they have a challenge, you know, and then they'll try to manage with the players they have. I think what Manchester United needs right now is to have a strong 11. They're not playing in Europe, so it means they can use the same players over and over again, and that will help them move to the top 10 or top 6, and then from there they can transcend to the next level. And then for Arteta, he seems to have gotten all he's been asking for. He has, Gyökeres, who has been the much talked about striker. Everyone's been looking for him. They now have him. They brought in Noni Madueke from Chelsea to ensure that Saka has a replacement. He has an extra option. In midfield, they seem to have everything they want. They have Moreno and they have other players who would really give them the kind of quality that they want to have in the team. I mean, in defense, even the goalkeeper, they have Kepa, who is a good backup for David Raya. So they seem to have every basic thing in place right now to go the long run. But the question is, can Arteta, from consecutively finishing second in the league, now win the league for Arsenal? Because that's what the Arsenal fans are asking for. Tomorrow's game will be fantastic. What's your take? And do you think it's the season for Arteta? Can he make it this time?
So this is a very tricky one because if Arteta couldn't win the league the last 2, 3 seasons that he got really close, I don't see him winning the league this season. And this is not banter. This is honesty here, because these were transition periods for a lot of teams, and it still couldn't win it. It only had to challenge Liverpool at some point, and Man City at some, and then last season Liverpool, right? And now Man City are back. Liverpool have started the season, even though with their defensive issues, they've won, which is important. 3 points are important. Chelsea are world champions, coming in with confidence. The small boys are becoming men gradually, right? So even Manchester United had a terrible season last season. Doesn't mean they are going to have one this season. They've signed some players, right? Tottenham Hotspur are there. Yes, we call them Spurs. We laugh at them. We mock them. They won the Europa League last season. When last did Arsenal win any European trophy of note? They've never won the Europa League or, the Champions League. Tottenham, this was their second or third title, in that competition, and they just did that. So it means they now know that they can win trophies again, right? So everyone will be competing for the league among these teams I've mentioned. Arsenal are going to be in the mix as well. But the issue that Arsenal have always had hasn't been whether they are good enough or not. The issue has always been, how strong are you mentally when it's time to be stronger mentally? We're talking March, April, May. That is when your true test of mettle. It's not a matter of, I can play, my team is good. How mentally strong is your team? They collapsed to PSG last season, right? The same PSG they had beaten in the group phases, if I'm correct, right? So collapsing to PSG, the same PSG, so it's not like they had not played PSG. Why would you lose to PSG? Again, it was mental. It was a mental thing, right? And then in the league as well, at some point, they were topping the table, right? So it's just the thing about Arsenal has always been, can they cross the finish line? Can they cross the finish line? Now they're going to be playing against Man U, that the same Manchester United that even when they are not on form, they stress Arsenal out. There's always been that rivalry, right? So even if when Man U is not on form, they will stress Arsenal out. So what can Arsenal do? Arteta has gotten his players. So there's no excuse for, I don't have this, I don't have that. He has his players. So let's see what he will do. And for Manchester United, I feel Manchester United are having an issue here. They have players that if they actually take advantage of, they are going to use well. I don't know what happened, and I don't know how they fumbled last season for Maino. Kobe Maino was a fantastic player 2 seasons ago. And all of a sudden, last season, things didn't work out well. I don't know how they managed him. I don't know what it is that they did. But that's a gem on their hands that they are wasting. I don't know what's wrong with them. I just hope a team that sees his value will go and probably take him away from them before they ruin that boy. Right? So let's see if they're going to take advantage of that boy. Let's see if they can bring the best out of him. They bought Ugarte when they were supposed to use that money to buy somebody else. But now they have Ugarte, you don't have a choice now. Try and just play something that takes advantage of the players you have. You can't be playing a style in your head that you feel like this is my ideal style, but the style doesn't fit your players, doesn't work well for your players or with your players. You look at the players you have, right? And you make use of those players. You try to get the best of those players. Bring the best out of them. You can't have an Ugarte and want him to play out of the back. Ugarte is not that kind of player. Do you get? So you make if this is are the strengths of Ugarte, then I mean we don't play. Maybe you probably would have to ask Bruno to come when you want to build up. Bruno comes back to build up. We've seen that with Chelsea, right? It's not because I'm a Chelsea fan here. We've seen that with Chelsea where sometimes when Caicedo and likes are struggling with playing out of the back and Lavia is not in the mix, Enzo comes back to be the one to provide an extra option. Then you play out from the back, then you see Enzo, sprinting down up the pitch again very quickly, and Caicedo sits back again. So that's what I expect Man U to do. Make the most of the players you have. If you have players that need to come back and you want to play out of the back, good and fine. Nobody's saying you shouldn't play out from the back. If it's Bruno, whoever it is that you feel has the strength for you, the person comes back during build-up, you play out from the back, and then the team reshapes itself, you redistribute again. You play to the strength of your players, and that's how you get the best out of the players. But that's going to be a tight game, and I can't call it. I say draw in that game.
Oh, you see a draw in the game. Well, it would be interesting. I mean, before now, before the signings that Manchester United brought in, Sesko, Cunha, and Buemo, I would have said it would be a straight win. In fact, a big win for the Arsenal because Arsenal has been quite good. Their defense was the best last season, and in my opinion, Arsenal still has the best defense this season. That's perceived best defense this season. Pending when they play, would know how good they are. But right now, I think Manchester United is gradually getting into a phase of consistency. They need to stick to a manager for a long time. The idea of sacking, that's one of the problems I had with Chelsea then. We sack and get a new manager, sack. It doesn't help the club in the long run. You have one manager, you stick with him, you have an ideology, you stick with it for a while and maintain it. Klopp was given an opportunity. He stayed for some time and created a brand, created a style in Liverpool. And then when Klopp was leaving, he brought someone or he suggested someone who could bring something close to what he was doing, Ancelotti, and they've continued in that stead. So if Manchester United allow Ruben Amorim to instill some of his principles from Portugal in Manchester United, and they follow that pattern, they have a strategy, I feel they will do much better this season. They might not make the top 4, but I feel they should still crack the top 6, top 7, top 8, at least make Europa Conference League. I think that would go a long way for a big team like Manchester United not being in Europe. It's not a good thing for the Premier League, if you ask me. I feel a team as big as Manchester United should be in Europe, for all that they've done. So we've reviewed some of the key games, going down this season, and I'm sure that we would really enjoy the league. It's a good thing to see that the league is back, and we're all excited about it. So, as we round up our podcast for today, let's just do a quick fire. So I'll ask you a few questions. You tell me what your thoughts is. You could use a few words. Who do you think will win the Premier League this season? So this is on record. So we'll come back to this at the end of the season to
Chelsea.
know if your predictions will come true. So who would win the Premier League this season?
I'm going with Chelsea.
Chelsea to win the Premier League this season. Okay, so tell me about the teams you feel that will get relegated. The 3 teams going down this season.
That's interesting. Relegation, I see. Sunderland.
Okay.
I'm just going to stick with Sunderland for now.
Sunderland. You don't think Burnley will go back and Leeds also?
I don't think Burnley and Leeds. I'm sticking with Sunderland. I don't know. Talk something about Sunderland.
Sunderland going down. Okay, so your top 4. You've already said.
Let me take that back.
Okay.
So, can you do this next week after everybody has played? for
That's fine.
relegation.
That's fine.
Let's do relegation
So
this
I
time
will give
around.
you a week to think about it. The four teams going down and your top four. Let me allow you use 1 week to conclude your
Yes,
top four. You've already
yes,
said Chelsea will win the league. So if
yes.
Chelsea doesn't perform well tomorrow, I'm sure you're not changing your top four prediction. Just doesn't play well tomorrow, I'm sure we would stick with what you've already said. So it's a good thing we've started this podcast. We've been able to go around the world of sports. It's a fun thing to talk sports. So I'm sure we'll make this as regular as possible. So we keep our teaming fans excited and yearning for more of such episodes week in, week out as much as possible. We'll also talk about other things. We talk basketball, the NBA. NBA starts sometime, I think, late October, November. The fixtures are already out. And interestingly, we both follow the Golden State Warriors. Just too many things are clicking at the same time.
Yeah,
But it should be quite interesting when the NBA starts to chip in the NBA as well as other sporting events around the world and have fun doing so.